On this episode of Jack and Work Friends, I'm interviewing my friend Andrew. Andrew and I, out of your head so much, but
Like, I can't do that.
no, that's good.
I'm gonna just not agree with what you're saying. Yeah,
No, but me and Andrew actually started in the same cohort, 2020, and me and Andrew were like the data scientists on the team, and we both graduated in 2020. We started at JP Morgan on the fast team, and
little
yeah,
COVID class right
yeah,
there.
a little COVID class.
Yeah.
We ended up being friends through work. We kind of obviously talked about work, but then also like basketball and other things in common. And it definitely helped that we both moved to Dallas, which was big. And since our times at Chase, you left I think after 2 years, right?
Yeah, just exactly 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years at Chase. Andrew went to work at Bain on a team called Pixis. We're really happy to have you on in person in LA.
Exactly. Yeah.
In
The
Echo
first volume of the in-person
yeah,
podcast.
yeah. You know,
Yeah.
we're trying to we're trying to do 5 days RTO. You know, we're trying to be
Exactly.
more in person. I want my podcast in person.
The influences come to just outside of work too. Like we're trying to do more in-person stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you want to introduce yourself or anything I missed? I feel like I got most of the main
That's
points.
yeah, a lot of the main points there. Yeah, I'm currently on this thing called Pixis. We do alternative data analytics for external clients. So what that means is that whenever one of the paid consulting teams is working with some engagement with, I work with a lot of like QSR, like quick serve restaurant clients, like whenever they want to
Quick what?
quick serve restaurant,
Quick serve?
quick serve.
Uh,
Like they
like
be
fast
served,
food?
yeah.
Okay.
It's quick. Like it's not like some long. Like
Like
they're quick with it.
I like how you guys made up with quick serve instead of just fast food.
Exactly. No, you gotta spice it up a little bit.
Okay.
With consulting lingo, you just gotta like make it sound
Yeah.
way
It's
than it really is.
expedient culinary experiences. You should have called it that.
That's exactly exactly no for real. So that's why we do it. What do we do? And we do a lot of stuff with like whenever clients want to know more about what their customers are doing in terms of like competitors and like when it comes to like how loyal they are to like their company versus other companies. That's where our team sort of provides value. It's like because a lot of times like if you're like just if you let's say you're McDonald's, right? You have your own data, but you don't have like data about what your customers are doing at KFC. Like
Yeah.
you don't you just
So
yeah.
I know if it's proprietary, like feel free not to answer, but are you allowed to say like what type of data? Like you mentioned, like how are you getting the KFC data, right? Like how are you actually doing these like analyses?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we do lots of like um it's basically we get it from data vendors
Okay.
and um it comes from a variety of mainly three things that I work on. It's email receipt data, which is like
Okay.
whenever you order something, let's say you go to like Best Buy or
Mhm.
like bestbuy.com, you buy like an iPad, it's like you get like thank you for your purchase, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Email receipt data, we have credit card data, which is like obviously very you know about that. You know
Yeah.
about that TDE
Working at Chase,
back in
the
the day,
credit card
right?
data goes.
You know all about that. And then Amazon data. So there's like the three main data sets that we get, and they all come from like it's not like Chase where it's like you literally have like
Yeah.
card swipes of people who use their Freedom Flex or whatever.
Right.
You have like it's all like from opt-in panels of customers and like have you heard of like just like those like cashback websites online? It's like
It's like honey.
stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah. So those are like stuff like the different like data panels. Yeah. You kind of like
Dude,
you opt into it.
it's so
Like
funny because some of my coworkers and friends like clown on me for like refusing to get YouTube ad blockers and stuff.
Mhm.
But actually, I think you were the first one to like kind of like put me on to like a lot of these Chrome plugins. Like they make money. They're in business. Like software isn't free, right? So even though you can download for free, probably taking like some of your data, selling it like their data vendor.
Mhm.
And so that's when I started really thinking like, does uBlock Origin or does like this like you know are they taking my data?
Your like your behavior online and stuff like the different websites that you click on
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's definitely legal. I'm not accusing Honey or uBlock Origin, but a lot of times you don't read their terms of service, right? So it's like,
Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly. So it's like people opt into these things voluntarily. Like most common stuff we do stuff is like where is the customer's share of spend going over time? Like if we have like if we're Delta Airlines, like are we losing our share to United and stuff
Right.
like that? And this is helpful for mainly like we do a lot of like due diligence stuff. So it's like companies that are they're trying to like diligence a company and they don't have a lot of the data on a lot of these private companies where it's like yeah you could look at like actuals if you wanted to but it's
Mhm.
like you don't for one actuals you don't get to have customer analytics and then for two if the companies that you're trying to like competitors that are around like your company of interest are private then it's like yeah you can't get their data so that's sort of where the power comes in
Okay.
and that's sort of what I mainly do so mostly it's like I work with these consulting teams help devise some of these analyses for them perform a lot of the data manipulation and stuff like that and we kind of deliver the data and some insights to them afterwards so I would say it's probably like 85% doing that and then the last 15% would be actually just directly working with some like clients and stuff, like not being consulting teams, but for the
Okay.
most part, yeah, consulting teams.
Cool. Cool. No, that was a good long intro. I'm sure like
Oh yeah,
everyone,
too.
everyone that it's cool. It's cool. At least they definitely get a comprehensive view of what you do.
Okay, okay.
But I wanted to talk to you about like what drew you to data science, mainly because I felt like, well, I guess two things. One, when we started, I think at one point we had like the same manager Chandler, right? And I remember you giving this like
Mm-hmm.
presentation about like like text embeddings and you really going deep on like the actual algorithms and how like embedding like vector embeddings work. So it made me like really like I was like, wow, this guy actually is very interested in data science. First, it's like which is like we kind of laugh about it, but not everyone does. Like some people are in data science, but maybe they're more in data science because they want to work with like the business and the strategy, and they care about like, okay, we take these numbers and how are we actually going to like, build a strategy around it. Some people really care about that part. Some people care about the storytelling of the data visualization. But I feel like you like were really passionate about like the math and how things worked, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, like I definitely thought you were one of the people on our team that kind of like was most passionate about that. And then two, the second thing is like you were literally going to school, and we're gonna talk about it a little bit later, but like you
Yeah.
literally were getting your master's while you were working out of your first job too. So it's like you never like basically stopped going to school until very recently, until you graduated, right,
Yeah.
from your master's.
For real.
So yeah, basically all that to say, like what got you like really interested, like whether it's through an undergrad or like maybe you got this job and then like you kind of fell into it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can kind of start with there with undergrad. Yeah, I went to the University of Georgia.
Go
Go
dogs.
dogs.
Go
Go
dogs.
dogs. That's obligatory go dogs after that. And then yeah, no, I just like I was always wanting to do something like so for backstory, like my parents they do like software engineering, both of them did that, and
Who
I
did?
just they would
Who would want to do that?
oh yeah,
Who would want to change from data science to software engineering,
nah,
especially
honestly,
after I tasted the good luck?
what a big downgrade that
I
is.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. Why would I do that?
Anyway, yeah, it was like yeah, they were really software engineering, and yeah, I was actually like, ugh, brother, this stinks. Like I was like,
You know what's funny is, do you know how to say software engineer in Chinese? I'll just tell you.
电脑什么东西，电脑
No, no, it's Manon. Like first of all,
码农
like code is 代码, but
Okay.
Manon means like basically like programmer.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally translates to code farmer, like 农民.
Oh.
So I don't know if in China like the culture if it's like I imagine and I heard in South Korea it's like this like software engineers and programmers aren't and like developers. It's not like the most desirable job. It doesn't have just like clout or like pay as it
Mm.
maybe has in the U.S.
Y'all just farmers.
We're just
Yeah,
farming.
like,
Yeah, so back to your
goodness.
thing. Yeah, so
What's the
it's
difference?
not like a hot take for you. Like, yeah, I can see why you might maybe think it's not like a sexy job.
Mm-hmm.
And like you saw your parents do it, and maybe maybe they complain at work or after work or whatever. So,
Yeah, this goes deeper than yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of like that, yeah, for sure. And it's also just like if we're gonna go a little bit more like on the whole like go a little deeper with it, it's like it is like kind of the immigrant parents. They came here their English isn't like native,
Yeah.
and software engineering is one of those fields where you don't really have to like do a lot of presenting of stuff. You just kind of write code and you ship it, and like if your code is good, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And yeah, that's sort of where I saw my parents. They were both successful in software engineering, and then I saw them do it, and then it's just like for me, like wanting to, like just growing, being obviously growing up in America, it's like I didn't want to be like I didn't want to do that because I'm like I'm so unlike my parents who
Yeah.
what I mean, and it's not obviously nothing against that. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. No.
they yeah right. It's just like it just is sort of what it was. That's why I wanted to chase business. I was like, yo, we out here like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We some ABCs like we're gonna go we're gonna do some finance. So that's what I was into. I was like, all right. I started college. I was like, all right, I'm gonna hit up like I want to go to New York. I want to like work in investment banking. I want to do like just like Wall Street, like hustle, grind, and all that. And I think like so I was kind of like just in my head. I was like, yeah, I'm not really trying to do coding.
Yeah.
Like coding is like so like it's like for nerds for
You were
it's
telling
for
the other day
Asians. Like
you're making algorithms from scratch.
no, it's, anyway, yeah. Some stuff happened in between then
Okay.
and then and
Okay.
then, but no, yeah, it was just like coding, and I was just like I was in denial
Yeah.
for a long time, and then essentially what happened was in our business school we do some very rudimentary like technical stuff, just some Excel and stuff like that. That's like kind of like just mandatory classes that we take in business school, right? And like Excel like kind of has the very foundational like
Yeah.
coding
You got
functions
functions.
and
Yeah. You
stuff like
got
that. Yeah,
functions.
it's like
Yeah.
stuff that's like kind of like a really soft introduction
If
to
you're
like
good at it, you do the macros.
oh shit, no, I never gone like that. No, not nice like that. Like that. Yeah, no, so they do. So that was kind of like where I first started to like get a little taste of like little coding, and I was like, I think I was like getting pretty decent at it. I think I was like low key like better at that. Like I kind of realized that I was at
You summed the
finance.
column and then you were like, I'm nice.
I was like, damn, this is it. I got it in my DNA. Like shoot, I
You
was
did an
fighting.
index of, you did a match function.
I
You're
was
like,
fighting it up for so long, and I was like, nah, this might be my calling. So eventually, yeah. So I did do a double major in both finance, and eventually I also added management information systems, which is like kind of kind of in between like business and
we kind of the
technology.
same major, right? Am I?
You did like little IE and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like
Yeah.
also the in between of both. So yeah, so I finished my finance degree first, and then because I just wanted to like get out of the way. I already like kind of like was entrenched in like my curriculum, and I was probably halfway to like three-quarters through, and I was like, at that point I was like, all right, like maybe finance isn't for me. Like I was doing better in a lot of my other like I started to do more MIS classes, and then I was like, yeah, like this is probably like more of like my sort of speed. So I finished my finance degree, and then the rest of my college, like the last 2 years, were pretty much just like data science. I did like this certificate in applied data science in the computer science school at my university and stuff. So I was like wanting to. I first started like very businessy freshman sophomore year. Then I like eventually switched over to want to do something more technical. I never got like as far as like the whole like, all right, I'm gonna go super heavy in like object oriented programming. I did like some classes in that, but I still wanted to kind of stay a little bit close to
Yeah.
the business, given that's like where my background was, and so that's sort of how that worked out. So
See, I think I told you the story before, but I was telling you that like I watched Moneyball and then I'm like, dude, this Jonah Hill character is like the coolest person. I want to do that. I know you love baseball and we're about to literally go to a baseball game.
facts,
Yeah,
yeah.
that honestly, that kind of influenced me maybe like 5 or 10%, which is a lot for a
Mm-hmm.
movie, right? And it's kind of stupid, but yeah, like it did make me think like, oh, it'd be really cool to like find the optimal solution to things like sports or like business. Like,
Yeah, analytics was definitely like it was a thing, I think, but it wasn't as popular as it is now, I would say. Like especially nowadays with like the NBA and like sports leagues, like analytics kind of took
yeah,
over. Like it was a thing, right? It was like in 2000s, it was like Moneyball. It was like it was there, but
that
nobody
book,
was really
wait,
like
that book was
messing
written
with
for a
it.
while. I think it was written in like the 80s or something.
Oh yeah.
The original Moneyball
The
book. Yeah.
yeah, before the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't that popular. It was
No.
like analytics in sports and stuff like that. Like wasn't really the only thing. I think it started a lot with like the in baseball, like in back in like I think the 2010s, like they implemented the shift.
Oh yeah.
It's like essentially it was like you would have like let's say you have the left-handed batter. One of the most famous examples of this is like Ryan Howard, this dude that I like loved watching growing up. He was like this big Phillies player, even though I hate the Phillies. Like I don't mess with them. But like when I grew up, I was playing like a lot of like these video games, and
Yeah.
like I was like the Phillies were like a really good team. They
Yeah.
won the championship in, like 2008 or something like that, and I was like, yeah, this is like a really good team. The Braves never won anyway. Ryan Howard, he was a super good Phillies player. What ended up happening was after analytics hit and like they're like, oh shoot, he'd be hitting the ball to like this right side of the field like 95% of the time, like to this one area. So they're like, all right, like we're not even gonna put any players on the left side. We're gonna stack all four infielders just to that right side.
Yeah.
And then so then after that, like he was like a perennial all-star, like he was like a really good player. And then after that, like he wasn't as good anymore, like not nearly as good.
You got Roy Hibbiter.
Yeah, exactly. They got ran out.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So that's why
Did they ban the shit?
then they banned the shift. Yeah, exactly. It was bad for entertainment. There's always a balance between what's smart
Yeah.
on
It's
the,
entertainment
for the team,
It's
and then
entertainment.
what fans like watching.
Yeah, it's an entertainment business. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's more analytics probably going with that whole fouling up three,
Oh my gosh.
like
Yeah.
which I hate. He knows I hate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Even though it's like the smart play, but it's probably like his analytics eventually told teams to start doing that. Like they didn't even start doing that until probably the past year or two, maybe. It's like when they started heavily doing that,
Yeah.
and I think that needs to get banned too, just because it's like just
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Just
Yeah.
like it's probably smart. It's just like so.
For sure. Cool. So I know we worked together at Chase, and it's obviously in banking. It's kind of interesting because I can't, we were like one on what, like 10,000 employees, and I'm sure like there's so many teams, everyone's gonna have a different experience. Um, but I feel like because we weren't like Chase does banking, so if you're not like an investment banker, part of like I guess what I describe as like the core business, which probably had a way more intense culture, more of that like IB culture, that type of thing. We had like I think our team was like pretty chill. We were
Yeah,
kind
it
of like
was.
yeah, we weren't customer facing.
Mm-mm.
We did support like the consumer side of the bank, so things like credit cards, like wealth management, just like things I describe it as like things everyday Joes can do, right? You can get a credit card, like you can get like mailers from the marketing team, like but these ultra rich people can probably do like crazier things, like I don't know, what's like crazier, like
Like
try to do like quant, like options trading, whatever, like
right,
that type of thing.
right.
So we weren't doing stuff like that.
No,
But
yeah,
anyway, I say all that to say like I think our culture was pretty good. It was like
no,
pretty
yeah.
collegiate, I would say. Um, and I guess I don't really know where I was going with this, but I feel like our jobs were like pretty like 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
They encouraged us to kind of like socialize and things like that. The work, of course, like any job, like some projects can be interesting and some is like less. But I guess like working at Bain, I feel like we actually haven't talked about this too much. Like, I guess what were the biggest differences? Yeah, honestly, obviously
Mm.
the work is different, but in some ways it was the same. It's like transaction data.
Yeah,
So in
yeah.
some ways it was the same. Um, yeah, was it just like work? Like, what is it like working consulting? And um, I guess like it is kind of similar to Chase in the sense that like you're also not maybe a part of the core business, like you're not a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, a lot of well, first, yeah, like we were thrown into I think a really good situation at Fast. Like it was like I like the sort of like the camaraderie that we had with our group. We had a bunch of people who just moved to Dallas. Like I think most of the people just have never even
yeah,
been there before. We
yeah.
just like kind of just went. And that was definitely a cool experience.
Definitely like freshman year college vibes a little bit,
Right?
right?
Yeah, everyone
Like
just kind of
no one knows each
mingled, like
other. Yeah, kind
right.
of a
Yeah.
little desperate to make friends. Yeah, maybe that's why we're here. Yeah,
Especially after like we were working remote for like that year because of
yeah,
COVID, and like we were like trying to do like stuff with each other even on Zoom and stuff like that, like just because we were all kind of antsy to like all right,
yeah.
like we're gonna like we didn't have our graduation, but like we want to kind of get the ball rolling in like our real lives. But yeah, we were thrown in a really good situation fast. I would say the main similarities, I would say, I'll start with similarities and then go on the differences. Main similarities would be um the data itself is like sort of similar, like you said, like when it comes to a lot of the consumer data. Like I when I was on Fast, like I did a ton of stuff with like the national sales team. So that was like doing a lot of like leads, creating generating leads for like bankers to
Mm.
call when it comes to like releasing new Chase products and stuff. So it's like kind of like analyzing the customer
Wait,
behavior
not
to
to
see.
not to derail this conversation too much. Do you
Yeah.
think like do you ever hear if like the cold calling leads thing was like beneficial? Because like who's not gonna lie, if I get like any phone calls,
Yeah.
I'm not picking that up.
Right. I know. Yeah. I never heard the feedback loop from it. So who knows if anything I ever did was successful like that.
You're like the numbers. It looked good though.
It
The
looked
slides
good.
look good though. The slides are crazy.
On paper, the top below was like, damn, that shit was like,
Yeah.
it looked real nice. Um, yeah, no, so I think that like some of the, yeah, that's one of the main similarities is that I do still do a lot of consumer analysis. And that was like kind of like prevalent in both the roles. Um, and then I would say that's actually probably one of the only main similarities. It's actually very different when it comes to my well, not my new role, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
the role that I transitioned into.
Yeah.
So some of the differences are one, like my team is tiny. Like actually like in Pixis, like Pixis is just like a subset of like Bain overall.
Mm.
And even within Pixis, it's like sub teams.
Yeah.
And I'm like on the casework team where I just I carry out analyses for case teams.
Do you just kind of stay in one role? Like, I imagine probably like very like more specialized now, or do you also get to work on different?
Yeah, we when it comes to like I think the role is similar, but like the work is slightly different when it comes like, over time. That's like my scope of work is sort of different, but I've been working with like the same people
You don't
for
trade. You don't
a
make
long time. We
trades.
don't yeah, we don't do a lot of trades on the team. We actually
Do you ever trade first round picks?
yeah, true. Right? I get first dibs on the next guy. Right? I get the first
next
pick.
animal
Yeah,
class, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we are expanding actually on the team, so maybe there will be some. Anyway, yeah, I think some of the main differences are one, um, the speed is different, and then I'll expand on that. But I would say the second thing would be um the external versus internal actually is like
Yeah.
very different. So one, the speed, right? For my team at Pixis, I'm like, I'd be doing a lot of stuff that's like, all right, this is like a 3 or 4 day sprint. It's like
Mm.
their PE diligences are only like a few weeks long,
Mhm.
and they'll only like it's like consultants will get on these and they're like go,
Mhm.
and we are like sort of tasked with like kind of like putting together a lot of the diligence like analyses for them, but using this alternative data. It's like that's where sort of a lot of the value comes in. It's like before when they do these diligences, they would just have like records of stuff. They wouldn't have this whole other plugin of like alternative data to help them make decisions.
Mhm.
So I would say the speed is different. It's definitely like sometimes it's really quick, and then sometimes it's just like not like this. There's just not much going on, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like since and this is kind of going to the second point where it's like, yeah, we are more external facing. Like I do work with a lot of Bain clients
Mhm.
and stuff or Bain consulting teams, but like it's business for other
Right.
companies. Whereas at JPMC, we're just like kind of like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff was like internal. We
Right.
were like kind of like doing a lot of like R&D type of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes, like honestly, like the stakes didn't feel as high. Like we were doing,
Oh
I
yeah.
was doing something for like TDE
Yeah.
back in the day. I was like, I don't know if they're gonna end up using this. It's just sort of like a like
Yeah.
we shoot in like a little like you know like 30 footer with this. It's like this thing that I wrote.
Yeah.
Like,
Take some more risks for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
then I
yeah,
guess the downside of that, and um, I mean it's something unfortunate, but yeah, when like the economy doesn't do as well, maybe it's sometimes the first to go. Like I don't know what like Chase like if they had layoffs or whatever. But yeah, a lot of times like the downside of it is like if you were working with external clients and business coming in and your team's busy, like they can't get rid of you guys. Yeah, you guys are doing good work. But if you're like taking these 30 footers on these experimental R&D projects,
hmm
yeah, when like the budget tightens,
yeah, and that happened a lot. Yeah,
okay. So it's kind of funny that I think not that like you're a trailblazer, but I kind of feel like in our little group of like at Fast, you were a little bit of a trailblazer with getting your master's. So you were the first one to try to get your OMSA at Georgia Tech, master's in data science, while continuing to work. I think tuition
uh-huh.
was like what 10K.
Yeah,
It's like
something like that. Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
affordable, and all of a sudden like how many people started doing
A lot
it?
of people started doing it.
How
I
many
wouldn't
people?
claim that. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't take the crown as trailblazer. Shout out Mark Vasquez. I think he like was doing it, and then
Okay,
he joined.
but you
So
were
then,
you were there first. He was in the class after us. So.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I guess like what yeah what made you like yeah, what just kept you motivated to listen?
So I think when I graduated undergrad, I I didn't start directly afterwards, but I did know that I really wanted to do a master's just because like you look at data science, right? And it's like it is very heavily research driven.
Mm,
And at that time I was like actually super into like the technical side, like after I graduated undergrad. I'm not as much now. I kind of like dialed it back a little bit
yeah,
from then and kind of like more work closely with like just customer analytics and that type of
yeah,
stuff. But I was like always trying to prep for like going to grad school. So I was like, okay. I started like studying for like the GRE, and then I was like, um, I ended up taking it and then applying to like a bunch of full-time programs.
yeah.
And then at some point, I think so I got admitted to
You
like a
kind of
full-time, yeah, like a UFan, like the
yeah.
yeah, you didn't have to like name drop it. I was just like, yeah, I got admitted to like
No, it's fine. It's
I got admitted to
fine.
like a data science full-time
Yeah,
program,
yeah. No, it's good.
which I was really excited about going
Yeah.
to. Um, but I think at that point it was like 2022, and I
Mm.
was really excited to go. But um, what ended up
You
happening
didn't want
was
to
like
leave me, right?
ex-
We
that's
just started
pretty
hooping
much the
together.
one thing that was holding me back.
Yeah,
It
we
was
just started
always it
hooping
wasn't even the
together.
back of my head; it was the front. I was like, damn, like
Those
I'm not.
Reverchon basketball nights got you. Yeah,
Yeah, all the Reverchon nights getting gum on the bottom of my shoes over there, just like this.
just
Um,
slipping and
Flipping
sliding on
like
the shots.
sandy, like you can't do any moves, or
Yeah,
else you're gonna self
hitting the ball on that tree.
You
You were gonna
already,
miss that. You were gonna miss that.
you
I
already
could
know.
tell. Yeah.
You already know. So yeah, so that's. I wanted to go to full time school, and I was like, I sort of just walked back on it. Main reason being that I just like I think the economy was like starting to show signs of like not being as robust as it was. I think after like 2021, like things were booming.
Wait, was
Like
2022 bad? Because yeah, 2021. Wait, were you already a Vane? Or
no, no,
not
no,
yet?
no. It's a different
Your
so
exchange,
yeah, yeah,
PMC.
yeah, for 2 years, like 2020 to
I feel like
2022.
I feel like I thought 2022 was still job market was still
It
good.
was good. It was good. I think what ended up happening was one, like, yeah, I think it was just like, it was mainly just, I think, I don't know, something, maybe it sounds like the
Oh,
economy. I
wait.
think another thing
Okay.
was, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can cut it if you want, but like, wasn't part of it like you calculated like the opportunity cost, right? Like UPenn might be like 60K a year. And then you're like 60K plus the lost wages. So that's like what, 2 years of work. So
It's
that's the
also just
benefit.
like,
Yeah.
when you start making money, it's hard to stop, like, just doing
I
that
know
crap.
you hate I know you hate giving up the money.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not even, yeah, I'm Carmelo Anthony out here. Like,
You're
no,
not Tim Duncan. You're
I
like
need
you're
to,
not Tom Brady
I
taking
can't
a
take that step
pay
back on
cut.
that. Yeah. So when you start just making like a full time salary, like yeah, like I was in college, like I was like making like $9 an hour at like my job, my part time job, and it's like yeah, you know what I mean. So I didn't want to go back to like that. Basically, I'd be joining like the full time school, like you can. I'd be like a grad assistant for $15 an hour. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
I just like don't know if that's like really like where I wanted to head, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start looking at like online stuff. So.
Mhm.
Um,
So you were close though. You were looking at leases I
I
feel like
actually signed a lease there. I had to get rid of it on Facebook Marketplace. I
yeah.
was ready to go. I was
Yeah.
really excited to go.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's sort of yeah, sort of shifted there. So I started doing the OMSA program at Georgia Tech like online, which a lot of people are doing now actually, just like in our program and probably just outside of that or in fast, right? And then
The funniest stat about that is like I think the acceptance rates is like okay, but then the graduation rate is so low.
attrition is crazy.
Yeah, it's just like well, it goes to the point
Yeah.
of like it's like easy come easy go, right? If it's more accessible, then a lot of people who are in it will like inevitably like just drop out because like
Yeah.
and it's hard for remote school. I'm sure it's very hard to like be motivated and all that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really just setting a part time, like just like yeah, as basic as it sounds. Like it's not like I don't. I think a lot of people could do it. Like a lot
Oh
of
yeah, no,
people can do it. I don't think it's anything super crazy. Be like yeah, I like worked and then I did school. Well, like most people, I think can do that. But yeah,
especially if you're like
especially like
single, no
yeah,
dependents,
I think
one bedroom.
you hate going outside. I feel like it's like perfect for like that situation. And, yeah, I'm just like
You did the remote work, remote school combo.
yeah, and I was in the one
The
two.
combo platter.
I was in that 1-2 right there. Yeah, and I think that's honestly where I learned just how to balance things in terms of like my work and obviously school and try to like balance social life as well. Like those three things are like super difficult, I think, with to sort of balance in terms of just like having a really good, it's like a little triangle, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
take
So
tomato, right? It's like yeah,
yeah. So I did kind of like social life didn't go out as much, like try to limit that, but it's just like I think a lot of people could do it.
just Wednesday basketballs
It's
with
not
me. No, no
that's the
Saturdays.
main thing.
No,
That's
no going
isn't
out.
that all you need? Like what's yeah, what else do you need like in your life? So yeah, no, so that's what I'm doing. I just graduated back in a few months ago, I want to say, yeah,
Yeah.
December 2024.
Took
And
you wait,
then
so it took you what, like 4 years to
no, I
graduate?
started in 2022, like
Oh,
August. So it took me like 2.5 years.
okay, that's
Um,
pretty good.
so but yeah, it wasn't horrible. So and then now, yeah, so now I'm just sort of doing work. I'm not sure about what the next steps are in terms of like external endeavors. I don't think I'm gonna go back to like school. I think,
Sure.
yeah, it's more of just like, all right, now that I have some time, and now it's like sort of like I've learned how to balance, sort of like do my best at least. So we can't like truly balance and have like a spectacular of like all right, yeah, like so much stuff at work, like so much stuff at school and like social. It's like, but now I kind of like know how to like fit something else
Yeah.
where school was, and I'm like,
Got like social life, you got relationships, and then your DJ career,
oh
obviously.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
watch out next ultra, like yeah, you already know that I'm.
Head in the cloud.
But
That's gonna be you next year. Head in
oh
the
shoot,
clouds.
actually I actually gotta go tonight.
Oh, shoot.
Like,
We're late.
we gotta go. Joji's waiting for me. So yeah, so I gotta go and I gotta go
It's like
meet
Andrew
him.
Lee Biggs. It's like
So
crazy.
yeah, I'm saying yeah. So like yeah, no, it's I'm trying to pick up a little DJing. I think it's like because I grew up doing like, we Chinese, we've been doing some like little
Oh yeah, we gotta
violin.
be in the music. Yeah.
You already know. I started with piano, violin, guitar. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I thought it would be like, and like obviously it's like kind of like technology. It's like doing like editing stuff like that. So it's like a little.
That's why you like DJing for the technology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I just like the drops and stuff. Yeah, I'm just trying to like mix some stuff together. Like,
Yeah, it's funny.
so it's like kind of like it's kind of like a creative outlet, I
Yeah,
guess. Just
yeah.
for
Do you
that.
feel like you kind of mentioned that yes, just go back full circle. I talked about like when we first started, you're like really into like text embeddings and like the mathematics. And you said you're a little bit less of that now. And it's funny because when we started fast, I feel like I probably burned myself out. Like one of the fastest to burn out.
I was going like 17 engagements when I was on like
I
one.
was going
I was
hard.
like, damn, this
Yeah,
dude is like,
just to give everyone some
this is going
context,
crazy
basically,
with it.
we had like an analyst class of what, like 20 people, and yeah, not to like orofarm or to my own porn. I just know what orofarming is, but I don't even know if I'm using it right. But yeah, I feel like I was probably one of like the top performers, and it sounds great. Like at the time it felt like probably pretty good,
Mhm.
but long term it was like not good. I yeah, I was trying to get out of it. It's like
You're
not
like
your
in
best
seven,
friend.
like seven like societies that we had, like the groups, like the social things, like the
Yeah,
other
that's
sort of
ridiculous. Yeah, yeah.
like organizations within our
And
team.
then what was it? Everyone called her UA, but it's like yeah, right. She was saying like the only reward for work, the only reward for doing good work is like more work.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I learned that the hard way. And I feel like you were a lot better. Like you would take time to like play pool with a coworker for like a little bit of time and like take your lunches. I took my lunches and stuff. Like I wasn't like going crazy, but
Yeah,
I
no.
was going harder, I would say. But then in a way, like, do you feel like maybe you went too hard at like the school thing, and maybe that like
Mm.
because you mentioned like, do you feel like you're burnt out from like the hardcore data science, or is it just like maybe your perspective's changed on it and you find the business side a little more impactful?
Yeah, no, I've definitely always wanted like, so for yeah, going back to the whole work thing, like yeah, like I was always like I had something else that I wanted to pursue, like just like in terms of like school.
Yeah,
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do what I need to do at work,
yeah,
and then I'm like, all right, then now the from 5 to 10, I'm gonna do some school stuff. You
yeah.
know what I mean, or studying for the jury and stuff like that. So um, I think when it comes to burning out, there are definitely moments, especially like in the program. Like it's not like all classes aren't made equal. There's some semesters that were like very tough in terms of like some classes would take a lot of my time.
Reinforcement learning.
Oh my god, I dropped that down. I couldn't do that.
Oh yeah, I forgot you dropped that.
No, I dropped. Yeah, no, I couldn't. That was a little too crazy for me. I think when it comes to like data science and like research, like I became, I think just like halfway through the program, I kind of like knew in my head that like I'm not the best like programmer. I'm not the best at
What about
math.
you're teaching about
Like,
D3 and the
oh my
JavaScript?
god, I was struggling crazy with that. Yeah, no, when it comes to just like my realizations, I was like, yeah, like I didn't really know if I wanted to like go further with data science, with research, with algorithm research, with like being just super like away from the business side, because just like the nature of our jobs, like I guess when we first started, like kind of were like intertwined with some like of the consumer aspect of things. So that was why I like decided to not pursue like any additional like sort of like data science up.
Super ironic because that text embedding presentation you gave,
No, yeah.
I remember like you got feedback saying like, oh, maybe you should like focus a little more on the results instead of like the actual like explaining the algorithm. So it's like
I was no,
what,
I loved that stuff when I was like in college. I was like, yeah. Once I like
you
took
thought you
the
were gonna be
leap,
creating new algorithms. You're like,
once I took the leap,
why would I use scikit-learn when I can just code it from scratch? I'm gonna put my own spin on this lasso regression.
exactly, little modification, like my own DJ
remix. Let me cook.
Exactly, yeah. It's like all right, move out,
Yeah.
like spread out. But
So
yeah, that's kind of like it definitely shifted now. I'm like kind of sit more like in the middle, which I think sort of for me at least right now, like it's sort of like where I want to be.
yeah. All right, hope you don't mind. We're like running a little short on time, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna skip the Atlanta question. I always try to end out the podcast with kind of like a more fun. I guess the last question was pretty fun.
Yeah, this whole thing wasn't fun. Like,
like less work related.
damn.
My bad. Less work related.
Okay.
I guess this one is still kind of work related, but I guess
So no fun today.
no fun today. Who do you think would make like good coworkers? If what NBA players?
NBA players?
Yeah,
Trey Young.
yeah. No, it could be no. Actually, tell you the truth,
Trey Young, Melo.
I think the easy answer is you try to pick like low maintenance superstars like Steph Curry, right? Like very low maintenance. But I will say you don't want a team of Steph Currys because like I don't obviously we don't
Yeah,
know.
you get bodied. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, duh. Like,
No. But I guess like personality wise, are like we obviously don't know these players personally, so like, but from the outside, it seems like Steph is like a lead by example guy. He's not gonna like bark at anybody for like messing up. But I don't think you can have a team like that. Like you can't have a team of everybody who's like that. So like maybe you want one Steph Curry. Maybe this guy's just like a really sick. Like I see, he's like, like no ego.
right.
But you can't have the whole team. I think you need like a Draymond Green. You need like someone who can like but actually, it's kind of funny. Like, I don't think there's that many Draymond Greens in corporate. So
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think Draymond Green is more of like a like he's kind of like the floor general on the team. Like he doesn't do like I think Steph, like my best comparison at least, is and I don't know if this is like necessarily like the most accurate, but I think my perception is that he would be like a crazy IC. Like
yeah,
he does, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like he runs around,
Yeah.
he does a lot of the small things, and
Yeah.
he does
And
all those
no
right.
ego, right?
Right.
He's not like
Exactly.
complaining about like, oh, why am I
Right.
not on this
But
project?
he's not normally the one making plays per se on the team. Like he's not the number one at doing that. At least it's mostly Draymond who kind of like runs the offense in the way. Like he kind of is like the general and sort of like the point forward, right? And Steph is like the point guard, but I think it's mainly just because he's like not the biggest dude and he just kind of gets slotted in there. But he's more of like a combo shooting guard.
Yeah. So you got your sick IC. That could be Steph.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be the manager?
The manager.
Steph is the Draymond.
I was
thinking Rise was gonna.
I don't think about it. Sometimes you need to do that though. You need to set your authority forward. You can't get pushed around, right?
It's not Draymond.
Draymond's gonna like he's gonna but let's say you are the manager, right? And it's like you're getting pushed by this other client, you're with something. Maybe you need to give him a little 1-2. Like maybe that is necessary sometimes. Nah, but like it, it's someone who's like probably like a Jokic player, obviously, where he's like he sets everything up. He is the leader. You know what I mean? He's undoubtedly like the leader. I think if he goes to any team, he is the leader. You know what I mean?
True, but I guess my pushback on the Jokic one is like I don't know. I think Jokic would be a really good maybe like a technical manager, like a technical project lead, because I think like probably a vet is better suited to be like an actual manager because managers don't do like hands-on work, right? So
Right.
you're gonna waste Jokic's talent just like, you know.
Not getting his rep.
So
Yeah.
maybe like a Mike Conley, honestly. Mike
Oh yeah,
Conley, I
talking
mean,
about like that. Yeah, like
someone,
that
someone,
makes
everyone
sense.
respects him, like great career, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, like yeah, like an owl, maybe like an Al Horford
yeah,
type
but
of
you don't want him to get too
situation.
many touches actually of actual work because
Uh-uh.
like
That's not his game anymore.
if I get ugly,
Back in the day, yeah, he's an all-star, he's all NBA,
oh my
but now
God.
he's like, and then he'd be like load managing now, but it's like kind of what man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're like the director, like you don't need to be there all the time, but you do kind of need to be there to kind of have your presence. Be
Yeah.
there.
Okay, last one. Who would you want as, let's say like you're a manager right now. Who would you want as like a direct or
Oh,
like an
direct
intern or like a
report.
direct report?
Mm.
See,
Probably not Jonathan Kaminga. Probably not him. I think
that's he's about to go public and be like, I'm not
let
being
me
utilized.
let me go to work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose the ball on the drive, but like I'm gonna try.
It's like let me talk to the client.
Yeah, let me do it. I got this. Clear out. I got this. Get out of my way. So that's probably not. That's the only thing I'm like thinking about. Yeah, probably not him.
Yeah.
I would say my best. I'm gonna describe the archetype, and maybe you can find the player.
All right.
Well, I'll try to think of it
All right.
before you do. But the
All
archetype.
off the dome. So this is a hard. I give you a
Yeah,
hard exercise.
I know it
Yeah.
is. It really is. Yeah, put me on the spot. So I'm like, yeah, but this is, like this you gotta work under pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, what's going on? So I think honestly, someone who works right. I'm thinking about someone who works under like a vet and is like a student of the game, and like didn't start their career off super hot, but once they move to a new situation, maybe that they kind of budded as a star. So maybe the first 3 or 4 years, 5 years of their career, like they weren't the best player. They were kind of working under like other stars. But once they got like, I think maybe it's like I'm thinking about maybe like a Brunson. Brunson started his career
Yeah.
super like he was mid. Like he was a good player. He was
Yeah.
like, he was like maybe
But
averaging 7, 8 points.
if you get a Brunson, that means as soon as he leaves your company, he's gonna go off
Against you.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, you
Exactly.
don't want Brunson. You don't want
Right.
Brunson.
Right, yeah.
You
But
want-
like Brunson's someone who was like very fundamentally sound. Even when he was on the Mavs, like shout out Coach Nick. Dissecting
for people breakdown.
dissecting his game. And I was watching those breakdowns. I'm like, Brunson was like, yeah, he was averaging like 8 points a game. But he
And
was playing the game the right way. You know what I mean?
Props on Brunson. He'd actually never want to leave Dallas. They wouldn't give him the. They wouldn't. I
they
think
wouldn't pay him. They wouldn't pay him.
some extension thing, but I feel like they could have made. I think I remember hearing they could have made it work, but they just let him go.
Dallas Mavericks hoops. They made the best decision. That's what they're known for. You know what I mean?
You actually want Nico Harrison as your CEO.
Yeah.
Your team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's probably what I would say. I don't know. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else that you want to talk about?
I think we gotta go hit the little Dodgers right
Yeah,
now.
the Dodgers. Okay, yeah, we're running a little late, but yeah, dude, thanks for being on.
Of course.
You're only here for 3 days, so the
Yeah.
fact that we made it an hour out of it.
We're still alive. We're still here.
Yeah, we could have been at Uniqlo right now, but instead you sacrificed that for this.
See, all
For-
the
for
all the things
Jack
that
and
I do.
work
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.